Hi guys, I'm back again today with another video, and today we're checking out what's the difference between US and Dutch new urbanism suburbs. So before we start, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell button, and let's educate ourselves. Let's get it. Oh, bike with
In this
mine.
video, I team up with the Dutch Way, and we'll be riding through the Wateringse Veld community of The Hague, Netherlands, and the Daybreak community in South Jordan, Utah. Make sure you subscribe to both channels at the Dutch Way and Bike Quest with Mike West and hit that for new video notifications. This video will be about not just bikes, and it will compare many elements of these two communities.
It's like a comparison of apples and peren.
No, we are comparing apples and oranges.
Can we reach a consensus by using the Dutch polder model?
So we compare oranges and pears?
Okay, let's compare sinaasappels and peren.
Wait, did you just say pineapples and pears?
Okay, let's just get
Maybe
to the
I will let you
point.
figure that one out. Enough with the fruit, let's focus on our rides. This electrical house is in the style of the local architecture where the voltage is reduced to 230 and 420 volts. The bridge and the trail between the houses offers an extra route through the neighborhood, which is lit after dark. A fence may be 2 meters high between the backyards and next to a house, but in front of a house the maximum is 1 meter.
As of May 2021, cyclists in Utah may treat stop signs as a yield, which helps reduce the number of stops one needs to make. This street is fairly narrow at 26 feet of asphalt and is called a two-way yield street since two drivers cannot pass each other when both sides have on-street parking. Driveways are located in the backs of these homes, which eliminates many auto-pedestrian conflict points.
This two-way street has the same width as in Daybreak, but is defined differently. Two-way streets are 15 to 18 feet wide. Parking along a street requires 5 extra feet. One-way streets are 12 feet wide. The word school zone is laid with white and grey concrete bricks of 4 by 8 inches. Almost all schools are funded by the government, and the choice of school is completely free and not tied to a district. Children from 4 to 12 years old go to one of the 2 primary schools in this building. And there's also a childcare center for children up to 4 years old. From the age of 8, children start walking or biking to school on their own. At the end of primary school, almost every child goes independently. Although 1,000 students go to school every day, there are only 4 short-term parking spaces for parents who drop off their child. Some children will eat their own packed lunch at school, but many children go home for lunch at noon.
We are just passing an elementary school where the building faces the street and puts the front door right to the sidewalk. There's still a good number of off-street parking stalls, as is typical for a U.S. suburb. A high rate of the 1,000 5 to 12-year-old children who attend here are walking and biking to get to school. 5 fewer buses are needed and fewer parents drive their children in Daybreak than at the school in the nearby suburb of Lehigh. The school is next to a large park with vast play areas and facilities for sports and swimming. The school is centrally located to prioritize walkability, which reduces the need for parents to drive their kids to school.
8-foot wide sidewalks are made with 1 by 1 foot grey concrete tiles. The streets are paved with 2.5 by 8 inch red brick, and the parking spots are paved with grey concrete bricks of 4 by 8 inches. The brick street surface helps to reduce vehicle speed as it is a textured surface.
Within a 5-minute walk of your house, it is possible to recreate and play in a park. There are 36 playgrounds, swimming pools, public bathrooms, beaches, cycling courses, and many more amenities. A string of parks are connected throughout Daybreak. Paving materials of the trails differ from some places for aesthetic purposes, but the design is not intuitive to direct people where to go. A 3.25-mile paved trail completes a loop around Ochre Lake and crosses all streets with grade separation, so you never need to cross paths with a car. Trails typically run through greenways and interconnect parks, schools, shopping, restaurants, churches, and some employment. Time for a little trash talk. Here in Daybreak, we have 2 bins. One to recycle plastic, paper, and cans, and one for waste that goes to the landfill, all for only $163 per year.
A household of 3 or more people pays a waste tax of €385 per year. But most waste is recyclable and can be put out on the street in their own bins on collection day. Residual waste is incinerated in a Rotterdam plant. The heat and electricity is used for companies and households, and CO2 is used in the greenhouse to grow plants. The downside of waste incineration is the byproduct of toxic ash. Where do you put this?
Housing demand in Utah has been strong since there are so many economic opportunities here. This leads to skyrocketing home prices. The houses you see in front of me here are worth around $1 million or more since they front the lake.
Housing prices in the Netherlands are also skyrocketing, and there is little available. It has gotten to the point that people are protesting because the government won't help. This is one of the 9% of bicycle paths that are not lit after dark in The Hague.
The trails in Daybreak are not typically lit with the exception of a few lighted bollards that still work.
Wateringse Veld is connected to its neighbors with many cycling and walking paths and bridges, but the new development of Rijswijk across the canal is not yet connected to this site.
These power equipment boxes are often an eyesore, but they make repairing and maintaining the system easier. Timber frame construction is the most common form of building houses in the US. It's a cheaper and easier way, and wood is a renewable resource, and it withstands earthquakes better than the unreinforced masonry houses built here until the late 1970s.
Few Dutch homes are built in timber frame construction. Most houses are built with concrete and stone and use concrete foundation piles up to 50 feet deep due to the soft Dutch soil. This petting zoo is an old farm dating from the 16th century.
Water is pumped 15 miles and 300 feet up in elevation from Utah Lake to Ochre Lake. The lake serves as a reservoir, and the water is used by the Homeowners Association to water the common spaces and parks. Daybreak is connected to the public water system that feeds culinary water to homes, fire hydrants, but also very wasteful landscape sprinkler systems. Other places in
Like when you pause right here, let me just go back a bit. Right. I don't know where exactly. Let's just say here. I'm not sure if those are homes, but in comparison, it's just so boring. The American one, even if it's weird because even if the houses in the American side is so like colorful, the landscape is just so boring. And this is suburbs, and like it's so far nice actually. Like it's a nice community. Um, but compared to the Dutch one, I would choose the Dutch. I don't know. The houses are like so same. They look the same, but for some reason it looks nicer, right? It's weird because like when something is the same, it's usually like boring. But in this circumstance, maybe because the landscape and the greenery is nice, so it looks so much better. And I just wish that the way they edited is if one video was moving, the other one would pause so that we could like watch one and then focus on the other one when it's turn. Because sometimes I catch myself watching the other video instead of the video that we were supposed to be watching. So that's the only but so far I really really love the comparison.
fire hydrants, but also very wasteful landscape sprinkler systems. Other places in Utah have a culinary water system and a separate pressurized irrigation system with less clean water that supplies sprinkler systems and fire hydrants.
This park is called Nature Theater and is part of a larger ecological zone between
See,
several
look at the
cities and
comparison. It's
sea.
so beautiful.
The layout of parks and
The
banks support
Dutch.
flora and fauna deep into the neighborhood. Peat was excavated and dried for centuries in the Netherlands to be used as home fuel in nearby towns. This process created a large lake here. This lake was drained 170 years ago and used as pasture until 1995. We are now 11 feet or 3.4 meters below sea level. In the event of a flood, houses will be submerged. The streets have a convex profile so that rainwater ends up in the storm drains if it's not absorbed into the subsoil under the pavement. This rainwater and that which falls on the houses is discharged via a separate sewerage system to the surface water. The excess surface water is drained via pumping stations to a higher channel and then to the sea. The wastewater system is connected via pumping stations to a nearby water treatment plant that serves the entire region. River water from 40 miles inland is used as drinking water, which, pre-treated in the dunes, slowly sinks into aquifers. This groundwater is pumped up and further purified for use as culinary water.
Stormwater from the streets flows into the detention basins, which ultimately end up in the lake. Some water infiltrates the sewer system through the manhole covers in the road, but is typically designed to run into a separate stormwater system. Utah recently required cities to design stormwater systems that infiltrate on-site so that it can better clean and recharge your underground aquifers rather than channeling it directly into lakes, streams, or rivers. Floods can happen in Utah, and if houses are too close to a river, they can be washed away.
Of the 182 observed available public and private parking spaces in this area, 77 are occupied by cars. Our hypothesis is that 40% of the cars in Wateringse Veld are not used for commuting. People living in the car-free courtyards behind the row houses can park here.
Every townhome and detached home has a garage in Daybreak. Multifamily housing units have 1 to 2.5 parking spaces. On-street parking is common for guests and because people tend to use their garages for storage.
True freedom of mobility means no car dependency. People can leave their car at home and take the bicycle or public transport. Here we are crossing a tramway. In Wateringse Veld, the maximum walking or cycling distance to a tram or bus stop is half a mile or 800 meters. The city center of Rijswijk, The Hague, and 4 railway stations can be reached with 2 tram lines. 2 bus lines connect many cities, train stations, and 2 hospitals. Trams and buses run at least 2 to 7 times per hour during rush hour.
I'm approaching the track's light rail line, which has 2 stops within Daybreak. These trains come every 15 minutes and connect to downtown Salt Lake, the university, the airport, and transfers to Frontrunner. No bus options are available in Daybreak, and traveling to Utah County using public transport is inconvenient.
The 30-kilometer zones are marked by brick streets. Now we enter a 50-kilometer zone with asphalt pavement. Across the street is a shopping center with an underground parking garage for 100 cars and apartments above the ground floor of shops, restaurants, and 3 grocery stores. It is part of one of the 2 centrally located urban neighborhoods with shops and amenities. There are also 6 lower density residual areas in Wateringse Veld. The neighborhoods were developed one by one over a period of 25 years and work is still in progress. By bike or on foot you can choose many routes. By car you will usually have to make a detour. The Hague has more than 500 playgrounds, of which 70 are in Wateringse Veld. Young, old or disabled, you will find a playground nearby.
These one-way bike paths here are less safe since they were built up to the curb and it is difficult for 2 people to ride side by side. There are sharp turns at the intersections where you have to be careful not to crash and slide into the road.
Now we are leaving Wateringse Veld. To reach the Verschoor Painting Company in the municipality of Westland by car from the house we just passed, you have to drive 2.2 miles or 3.5 kilometers. By bike or on foot, it is only 350 feet or 110 meters. Resistance is futile. Bike. Driving in the Netherlands is often pointless.
Here I am approaching the Mountain View Corridor. The trail crosses this high-speed highway at grade, which is less safe and inconvenient since I have to wait at the traffic lights. What you see is just the outer frontage roads, which currently carry 33,000 vehicles a day. It is planned to have a future freeway in the middle and is projected to carry around 150,000 cars a day. This future freeway will also serve many new developments, including the large proposed Olympia Hills planned community, which will have around 20,000 residents. I believe well-designed, grade-separated crossings need to be planned with any improvements to this massive highway.
Farther ahead is a bicycle tunnel under one of the busiest provincial roads in the Netherlands that serves 71,000 vehicles per day. This road is part of the Ring Road of The Hague. 600,000 people live within this ring. 1 million people in and around The Hague use this ring road. From a newly constructed roundabout, Wateringse Veld will be connected to the widened provincial road with a viaduct.
Since Daybreak has 2 light rail stations, fewer commuters drive alone when compared to other South Jordan residents. There are few opportunities to walk or bike to work since the community is surrounded by urban sprawl and auto-centric transportation infrastructure. There are 577 cars per 1,000 driving-age residents in Wateringse Veld and 877 in Utah. Although Utahns have only 50% more cars, they are used 3 times as much as in the Netherlands. Dutch people are less dependent on their cars and don't need to use them for most trips. As I pull up to the second signal, this is where it's evident that cars are prioritized in the signal phasing. As I look around, there are 0 cars coming in the left turn lane, but the vehicle left turn arrow is green anyway and skips the green for a bike signal. There's no wonder so many people drive. The system continues to make it the more safe and comfortable way to get around. This intersection often requires bikes to have to wait through 2 signal phase cycles to get through, which makes someone wait twice as long than if they were driving. Often people walking or biking will run the red light because it is too long to let them cross, which is dangerous. Daybreak and Wateringse Veld are both suburban communities designed in a new urbanist style to be more compact, with alternative options for transportation and with a broad mix of housing types. New urbanism includes a traditional neighborhood structure with a high-density center transitioning to lower densities with defined edges. The center includes quality public spaces and is located within a 10-minute walk of many uses and housing densities. Similar are the walkable, cyclable schools, parks, water features, playgrounds, sporting facilities, and services. However, Wateringse Veld has no religious buildings and Daybreak doesn't have that many shops and restaurants. Multifunctional buildings with housing, shops and services, and parking garages are quite normal in Wateringse Veld, while this has not yet happened in Daybreak. Daybreak lacks good public transport except for 2 light rail stations that only allow for northbound travel. Wateringse Veld has trams, buses, and close access to a rail station. Daybreak was primarily designed for walkability, but it is bike accommodating. Wateringse Veld has protected bike lanes and connected bike paths that prioritize the directness of cycling and make driving more circuitous. Although Daybreak is less car dependent than many parts of the US, it still falls short compared to Wateringse Veld.
Wateringse Veld looked like this before 1995. Greenhouses and meadows. The scarce, undeveloped area between The Hague, Delft, Rotterdam and Maasluis is an agricultural
We're
landscape
still in
and
this
has an
traffic
important
light.
recreational function for the surrounding cities. Mike is still waiting at the traffic lights, so I have time to make a small detour and buy 10 white roses. I put €3 in the mailbox.
It is so sad for me that they can literally stop and smell the roses.
Okay, I get the reason why the videos are played at the same time now. Okay, makes sense. Because a while ago I was like, can you pause? But I see they're trying to kind of like do it in the same time to see like how fluid one is and how maybe a little bit, held back the other is. Okay, makes sense.
All while I wait at this highway crossing. The trail that I am about to turn onto is 12 feet wide and better accommodates pedestrians and cyclists than the narrower trails within Daybreak. The road that runs along the side of this trail includes an on-street bike lane, which I think is dangerous since it serves as a clear area for high-speed traffic. A direct connection to the shopping center helps provide a more direct route for people walking and biking and eliminates the need to ride through a heavily trafficked vehicle access.
Many people cycle a recreational trip on their bicycle every day. This is a recreational hub for cyclists, walkers, inline skaters, canoeists and motorboats. There is free parking, a water tap, tourist information, charging points for electric bicycles, a restaurant and a boat rental. For cyclists there is a numbered node cycle network wayfinding system, the so-called Fietsknooppuntennetwerk. Each intersection or node is given a number, and the numbers are signposted, so the cyclist always knows which way to go to get to the next node. In this way it is possible to cycle from the northern tip of France to the most northern part of Denmark. Walkers and inline skaters also have their own nodes and can map out their own route. There's also a network of nodes if you sail or skate in the winter. Canoes have green signs, sloops have blue signs, small cabin boats have brown signs. The subdivision into 3 categories has to do with, among other things, the minimum required bridge heights.
This commercial development is similar to what is in Wateringse Veld. There's only one entrance off the main road and the commercial buildings block the road noise from the nearby neighborhoods. This shopping center has hundreds of parking spaces for cars and only 8 places for bicycles at the grocery store.
Dus wet which is 16 inches or 40 centimeters below the average sea level, carries the water that is pumped out of the boulders. At the end of this canal is the Maasland flood surge, where the water is pumped out to the river that is at sea level. Strong winds and heavy rainfall led in 1998 to flooding in this area. Many greenhouses and homes were flooded. Since then, additional safeguards have been put into place to prevent future flooding. This recreation area and ecological zone was built in 2014 to compensate for the construction of the provincial road in 1998.
Also, there are several drive-through businesses, which makes it a car-centric destination. There are a couple of problems with these one-way buffer bike lanes on a multi-lane high-speed road. First, the lack of protection allows cars to park in them and use them as right turn lanes. Second, access to these bike lanes from the opposite side of the road is dangerous as someone needs to cross all 5 lanes of traffic. A road like this should have two-way bike paths behind the curb on both sides. Access to McDonald's from the bike lane can only be achieved by using the sidewalk or by using the vehicle entrance, which is not comfortable.
You have to walk to the gas station or McDonald's since the provincial road is only for motorized traffic.
These sidewalks really weren't intended or designed for bikes. This ramp was needed since the site was graded at a slightly higher elevation, likely to create a flat pad for the building and drive-through. I finally made it. There is no bike parking here though, so I just park in a car spot. This ride shows us there are many similarities and differences between Daybreak and Wateringse Veld. Wateringse Veld has livable neighborhoods between
Where
Daybreak
is
and
this place so
Wateringse
beautiful?
Veld. Wateringse Veld has livable neighborhoods, many businesses and services within walking and biking distance, many transit connections for both localized travel and connectivity to the regional network, a well-connected network of bike paths and traffic-calm streets, impactful highways circulate around the community and neighboring communities, and there's a clear transition in the land use transects from urban to rural. It is more common to see a full range of transects in Dutch communities. Daybreak has some of the most livable neighborhoods and open spaces in suburban America. Not all transects are present as the community has little rural area left nearby and an urban core that has not yet been developed. However, new urbanist communities like Daybreak do better than typical auto-centric American suburbs. The benefits of a more human-centric design are clear, including the increased level of independence of our youth, older generations, and those with disabilities. However, the most critical shortfallings of Daybreak are the lack of shopping and services within walking distance, limited transit connectivity, lack of safe bike-specific infrastructure along busy stroads, and how the Mountain View corridor cuts through the community and creates a barrier. Criss-cut by numerous major highways and dangerous stroads, Daybreak seems like an oasis surrounded by auto-centric sprawl and shopping centers. No wonder that a lot of localized travel has to be done by car instead of active modes. In the end, even a simple trip to McDonald's must be done on a stroad. But don't we all know that McDonald's are attracted to the stench of stroads? Just like a fly on dung.
I don't know if he bought that or he actually picked it up. That was a fun way to show us the difference. And yeah, it doesn't look appealing. I mean, the suburbs have always been an ideal place in my brain. I was like, oh, I'll go to America one day and live in the suburbs. It's amazing. It's nice. Or I'll be in New York in an apartment. But every time that I watch something, I just get discouraged each and every time. I'm like, nope, I'm gonna move to Europe. Yes, thank you. Bye next. But anyways, beautiful peeps, I will see you tomorrow. Bye.